Now in Duncanville, our bilingual population and our ESL population are soaring. And so it is a real challenge for us trying to get those educators that will meet the needs of our bilingual ESL students. Can you touch on some of the things that you're doing? You've done some extremely creative things to really help us in this area, and I want you to kind of highlight that for us.
Yeah, so for bilingual teachers or bilingual certified teachers in Duncanville ISD, one of the things is we have one of the highest stipends in the state, right? And so that one is unmatched. And so we have a huge need to draw bilingual teachers, and that's the first layer. That's what we do. We provide this stipend. In addition to that stipend, we provide a sign-in bonus on top of that. And so our teachers who are bilingual certified, they receive a $5,000 stipend. They get that over the course of 2 years in addition to their stipend. In addition to that, our ESL population is soaring. It is, in the last couple of weeks, we probably had 10 newcomers to the district, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for those students. So right now, we have an early bird opportunity because our goal is in the next 2 years to have every teacher who teaches ELAR in our district, English Language Arts, certified as an ESL teacher. To make sure that it doesn't matter what class our students go to, there's someone in that room that can meet their needs. And so there's an incentive for our teachers to get that ESL stipend right now in the district.
Hi, my name is Dr. Mark Smith, and I'm superintendent of Duncanville ISD, and this is my podcast, Super Intentional. I'm Dr. Mark Smith, superintendent of Duncanville ISD, and this is my podcast, Super Intentional. You know, I believe everything rises and falls, rises or falls with the leader. And so leadership is such an important focus for what we talk about on our podcast. I am so excited today. I have an awesome leader in Duncanville ISD, Mrs. Kathleen Brown, who is the Chief of Human Resources in Duncanville ISD. Now, that title really doesn't truly describe all that she does and the value that she adds to the district and to me, but I'm excited to have her here. And we're going to be talking about everything HR and all the challenges. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Smith.
I am gonna start by just, I had a personal situation this weekend where I lost my cell phone, and I've shared that with you all. So I lose my cell phone, and I have to go into the AT&T store, and he's trying to work with me and assist me and get me going. And there are about 5 customers in there, and there's only one gentleman in there helping. And so I asked him, I said, hey, I'm in the school business. I'm a superintendent of a school district, and we're dealing with a lot of staffing crisis after we've come out of COVID. And boy, I tell you, the light bulb just went off. He said, look, I'm the only one here. And it's like a room full of customers and everybody's waiting on me. I cannot find workers. And I started thinking about that. And I started thinking about the challenges that we have in the school district and that we face. And I wanted to really take an opportunity to get your insight on first, just the general challenges that we are experiencing here in Duncanville and what you're seeing in the HR world as it relates to staffing.
Yes, Dr. Smith. Well, it's been hard. It has been very, very difficult. I hope you told the AT&T guy that we're hiring.
Actually, I didn't, but I probably need to go back.
We are hiring. It's been very tough. The last 3 years have been like none other. I know COVID had a lot to do with that, but what we are seeing is just this new age of workers. And so the field of education, we have a huge need as it relates to staff, teachers, custodians, bus drivers, you name it. Sometimes people don't realize how many people it takes to make sure our students have what they need. And so what we're facing right now is just a crisis. It is really a crisis, a shortage of having teachers in the classroom just to meet the needs of kids on a daily basis. And so the great thing is that we've been able to be very innovative as it relates to what we're doing in Duncanville. But the challenge, it gets bigger every day.
Yeah. So as we start to kind of unpack this, let's kind of first talk about what actually is causing the crisis. I mean, I've read a lot. You and I have visited a lot. You've help educate me from a very microscopic level about what's contributing to the crisis. Why are we experiencing this deficit of available educators? And it's not just teachers. It could be bus drivers. It could be food service. So this void of educators, what's contributing to that crisis?
Well, the first thing as it relates to educators is we don't have a lot of people entering the field of education. And so the majority of teachers who are entering the field now, they are coming into education by some other route. So they didn't major in education. Sometimes education is a second career for them, sometimes a third and a fourth. And so recently I was looking at some data as it relates to how many teachers were certified in the state of Texas, new people entering the field. And it was a fraction of what the vacancies look like. And so that's one of the issues is we don't have people entering the field. Another issue is that people have so many options. And so long gone are the days where I have to be in a facility to work. I can be anywhere. I can be at home. I can be on my couch. I can be at my kitchen table. And so with those options and people wanting to do their own thing or having their own business, that's excellent. But it is contributing to the crisis that we're seeing in education.
Yeah. I read some data some time ago where actually the crisis in terms of the number of college students entering into the College of Education at university level, even prior to COVID, those numbers were dwindling. The trend was already heading in this direction of lower numbers of students entering into colleges of education. So the pool of applicants was already starting to really dissipate even before COVID, and COVID really exacerbated it a lot more.
Yes, absolutely. That is very true. Even in our pathways in our district in Duncanville, our numbers, even for our teachers, our students who want to become teachers, those numbers, as we look over the trend over the last 5 years, those numbers are looking just like those numbers we see at the university. And so it's about thinking about what do we do about that, right? How do we change the narrative as it relates to education and what that means and what the opportunities are that you can have. So we see the opposite. And I do believe that we are going to see the pendulum swing the other way.
Yeah. So how has this void really impacted the classroom and the day-to-day work? Whether you're a bus driver, whether you're food service, I think it would be important for our audience to really, truly understand all that we just unpackaged and described, how that really impacts the day-to-day of what's happening in schools every day.
Yes, it's made it very challenging. We've had to be very creative and come up with some very novel things because at the end of the day, our students are coming and we are committed to meeting their needs. And so you take this morning when we looked at our subfill rate, we looked at absences, we looked at bus drivers who were not here or the lack thereof. The challenge starts from the moment our bus drivers get here in the morning. We are needing to use our skills of strategizing and figuring out, okay, how do we get together and make this happen to get kids to schools? And so how do we keep schools clean? How do we make sure our students are fed? Everything that could impact kids impacts kids based on our lack of staffing. So today, for example, we have substitute orientation. Typically, we would have maybe 50 to 70 people in the room. Today, there are 19. We are very excited about the 19 that are there, but we need them to start working next week. So it has had, even though it's a challenge, it has made us think about our work differently and made us look at how we can use what we have to meet the needs. And so I think we've grown a lot with the lack thereof as it relates to staffing.
Now, there are a lot of challenges associated with paying teachers and keeping teachers at a competitive level. Every year, you do a very good job of doing a comprehensive study on compensation. That is so important for us. It's so challenging because it's so competitive and there are so many nuances in the different size and scope of districts and what a larger district who has a larger tax base can pay versus what a smaller district who might happen to be right next door. And so the competitive nature of how things operate from a compensation standpoint is a challenge. Can you speak to just some of the things that we have to go through every year as we try to stay competitive from a compensation standpoint?
Yes, so compensation, that's a
It's a
that's
big
a huge one.
It's a big one.
We are constantly looking at what those around us are paying. One of the things about living in Texas is great, but here in the Metroplex, people have so many options. You can go right next door. In less than 5 miles, you can be in 4 different school districts. And so when we look at competing with our neighbors and those that aren't right next to us, we have about 23 districts that we are constantly competing with on a daily basis as it relates to pay. And so one of the things that we have to look at is what we have, but our biggest piece is looking at total compensation and really educating those who choose to come to Duncanville about what our total compensation is, right? So when we know that our staff members are going to look at that bottom line, what are they offering me? But how do we tell our story and tell them what our total package is? And so what we offer as it relates to benefits, what do we offer as it relates to that base salary, what stipends that we offer. We are highly competitive in those areas. And so we have to look at every single thing because everything matters. And I believe in Duncanville, we are people's competition, right? We know that we're their competition. And so one of the things about our district is we make decisions pretty early. And sometimes that's a blessing on one hand for us. Sometimes it's a curse on the other hand, because once we make a decision, then everybody else makes moves. And when those things happen, it puts us kind of sometimes back where we started. But we stay the course and make sure that we keep looking at our data. And one of our goals is to be one of the top 10 paying districts over the next 5 years. And so that's what we're pressing toward. We know we can't do that overnight.
Right.
But that's where we're going to be, and that's where we're going to get. But that's only one facet as it relates to the issues that we're having with staff.
Yeah. So bilingual and ESL teachers and bilingual ESL population. Now in Duncanville, our bilingual population and our ESL population are soaring. And so it is a real challenge for us trying to get those educators that will meet the needs of our bilingual ESL students. Can you touch on some of the things that you're doing? You've done some extremely creative things to really help us in this area, and I want you to kind of highlight that for us.
Yeah, so for bilingual teachers or bilingual certified teachers in Duncanville ISD, one of the things is we have one of the highest stipends in the state, right? And so that one is unmatched. And so we have a huge need to draw bilingual teachers, and that's the first layer. That's what we do. We provide this stipend. In addition to that stipend, we provide a sign-in bonus on top of that. And so our teachers who are bilingual certified, they receive a $5,000 stipend. They get that over the course of 2 years in addition to their stipend. In addition to that, our ESL population is soaring. It is, in the last couple of weeks, we probably had 10 newcomers to the district, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for those students. So right now, we have an early bird opportunity because our goal is in the next 2 years to have every teacher who teaches ELAR in our district, English Language Arts, certified as an ESL teacher. To make sure that it doesn't matter what class our students go to, there's someone in that room that can meet their needs. And so there's an incentive for our teachers to get that ESL stipend right now in the district. Another thing is Duncanville has a lot of bilingual aides in our district. And so we are working from within to grow our own bilingual aides into bilingual teachers. And that has been one of our best efforts through our Grow Your Own program. Growing our own bilingual instructional aides to become bilingual certified teachers. And they know our district, they know our kids, they know the community. And so who better to become a bilingual teacher? And so we're behind them in those efforts.
I remember a few years ago, I met a young lady, and I want to say she was an aide at maybe Kennemer Middle School. And she was going through the process and actually completed her credentials and was able to become a teacher. Mm-hmm. And it was through the investment in her and many others, a program like that really can launch someone and help them take that next step in their career. But then also just the commitment and the loyalty that they have for us as we've invested in them, that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
And so you've done an awesome job in that.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things people don't know about you that don't work with you is how creative of a thinker you are. So you've spoiled me in many ways because that's not a talent that I have in the same way that you have it. So you're always thinking about ways to help us be more innovative and creative in how we're dealing with everything that we've already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in our district, we embrace the mindset, okay, so what, now what? It's not that we don't understand how difficult things are, but we know that our priority is to meet the needs of the students that are in front of us today. So we got to constantly be pushing the needle. You've done a great job of that. I wonder if you could take a few moments just to highlight some of the innovative things that you've brought to the district to help us manage this crisis.
Yes, sir. So one of our most recent things that we're doing is called our TAP program. It's our Teacher Apprentice program. And so with this program, we have individuals in our district who started college at some point, and they've stopped because life happens to them. And so we've reached out to universities and partnered so that we can offer tuition at a reasonable rate for them, where it's able to come out of their check on a monthly basis and where they can get their bachelor's degree and finish. But in the meantime, they are able to work in a position in the district as a teacher apprentice. And so that means I'm working right under the direction of other certified teachers, meeting the needs of kids. And within the next 2 years, I'll have my bachelor's degree and be able to become a certified teacher. That is a spinoff of our Grow Your Own Stay at Home program from the grant that we had several years ago. And so we saw such success with that. And our staff members were very hungry for other opportunities. And so we had to put our minds together to say, okay, how do we continue that, right? And how do we make it affordable for our staff so that they get to their end goal? So we always talk about you can do it all in Duncanville ISD. And when we say that, people often think that's about our kids. But you and I both know that's about our adults. You can do it all in Duncanville. And I'm a product of that. And so I want our staff members to have everything that they need and every opportunity right here in the district. So that's one of our opportunities is TAP. The other one is the Grow Your Own Come Back Home. And that is our partnership as it relates to our CTE program with our future educators, our high school students. The Human Resources Department has partnered with them to ensure that when those students leave us, that they are already certified to be instructional aides. Many of them go to school really close to the district, and then they come right back and they are teaching with us or substituting with us or being a paraprofessional because they're certified to do so while they're getting their degree. And then they come right back to teach to us with us. And so just trying to be very creative. And Duncanville is a family. It's a home. And so that's how our creative juices get to flowing is how do we take care of family? And so that's how we see the work.
Yeah. The teacher certification process, the state level teacher certification process. We've talked about that a lot. In many ways, it has created even more of a challenge of trying to fill staffing positions. And, you know, I wonder if we as a state need to take a different look at the whole certification process because of the times that we're living in. Expound on some of the challenges that you're seeing with the teacher certification process and maybe some of the challenges it is presenting with us filling certain positions.
All right. So one of the things that has changed drastically is the elementary test. And so the test for an elementary teacher now has many parts to it, and you need to be successful on every part. So it doesn't matter if you're only going to teach math or you're only going to teach English. Until you complete all of those pieces, you have to take it over. So we have staff members who are needing to take that test multiple times to find success. And then now there's a cap on it, right? You get those 5 times to take the test, and then you're done. You can't take that test any longer. And then a new test called the STR, which is a very important skill set that teachers need to have when they're teaching at the teaching English language arts. That's strategies of teaching reading. In the crisis that we are in, with the test changing, new tests coming down the pike, it's making it more difficult and not as appealing for people, right? So they will throw in the towel and say, you know what? I've taken this test 3 times. I'm no longer going to do that. And that doesn't mean their ability not to pass that particular test does not always equate to their ability to be an awesome educator, right? And so how we are combating that as a district is when individuals are in these programs and they are working to get their certification, we partner with them. We have some mandatory meetings where they have to attend on a monthly basis where we're studying together. They're studying with people that are taking the same test because we're helping each other, right, to be successful. So we don't have any control over, exactly what the state decides, but we can control what that looks like in Duncanville and how we take care of our people and make sure that they find success.
I was just thinking about, now each year, you and your team put together an awesome employee celebration program at the end of the year. And it's an opportunity for us to celebrate our employees, those that are retiring, those that have reach certain accomplishments in the district and really just highlight them. And I'm always reflective on, why should someone want to work in Duncanville? And I go to you. You've been in Duncanville for several years now, and there's a reason why you're very talented. You can go anywhere that you want to go in this profession, but you've chosen to stay here. And so I wonder, why is it that our educators choose to stay in Duncanville, and what can we do to make sure we continue to make that a priority? Because we know, I wanted to mention this, we know that when you look at the research and you begin to look at what makes people stay, pay is up there, but it's not always the number one. People want to feel valued. They want to have a voice. They want to have a connectedness to the organization or company that they're with. So kind of shed some experience for us on that.
Yes. For me personally, I think I've been in Duncanville almost 19 years now. And I choose Duncanville ISD for many reasons. One, Duncanville has changed over the years, right? And leadership, you always say it, leadership matters, and everything rises and falls with the leader. And so a lot of individuals choose to stay in Duncanville because of leadership. I think the district does a fantastic job of growing leaders. And when you have people that are in leadership roles in the district, it's easy to follow, right? You see the vision is plain, you're bought into the vision. You want to be a part of that, right? Even though it's hard, the work is hard, it's difficult, we don't have enough people, all of those things, those people who show up every day, they choose to be in Duncanville because they're committed to the work, they're committed to the mission, and they know we mean it. Another reason I think people choose to stay in Duncanville, you named it, that connectedness, right? We have that small town feel in Duncanville, close to the big city, and we're able to sell that to our employees, our staff members. When we see each other out and about, I'm at the store on the weekend, you're still connected to those people. Yeah. We're talking to them. There are no big I's and little U's in Duncanville ISD. And that's not cliche for us. And everybody's a leader as well. And so people are able to find their niche. They're able to find ways in which they can lead in whatever capacity that they have, and they can grow.
Yes.
And so I think that those are some of the reasons why people choose to stay in the district. And then, Dr. Smith, we often have people to leave. So I would say that 90% of the time when we have our orientations weekly, we have someone in the room that has returned to Duncanville. And we will always ask them, hey, why did you choose to come back to Duncanville? And they will always say, there's no place like it, right? And so we have a saying, you may leave, but you will always come back to Duncanville ISD, right? And it's the people. It is the people.
So it reminds me of the quote, people think the grass is green on the other side, but actually the grass is greener where you water it.
Absolutely.
And so that is a powerful statement. If you stay, sometimes you just got to stay put, and you got to invest in where you are and trust the process to get to the next level. Yes, you mentioned developing others. We do a lot, but one of the things that I'm most proud of is the priority that we place on developing others. When I think about our principals, the majority of our principals have come through our leadership development pipeline. And up until maybe about 7 years ago, we really didn't have that. And there were people in the district that wanted to be a principal, but there really wasn't a pathway to get them there. And now we look at 7 years later, we've got a very focused, strategic principal leadership development program. And not only do we have the program name, but those individuals are actually serving in leadership roles in the district. So I'm really proud about that.
Absolutely. And the great thing about that is now being replicated so that we're able to, some people don't want to become a principal, but how do we build leaders in every capacity of the district so that we have a pipeline of individuals to take on those positions when they become available? And I know that seems like it may be difficult because there's not enough people. But when you invest in people, it makes a difference, and people choose to come to the work, to be in Duncanville, to do the work.
Now, Kathleen, the grind is real, and there's a tough part of your job and the colleagues around the state that have your job trying to staff schools. What do you do to stay focused, to stay motivated? I'm sure, like many others in leadership, including me, you have moments where, boy, it just was a bad day today. I think there's value in people knowing some of those challenges in leadership, but also how you overcome them to stay focused on the target.
Right. Well, for me, I keep my focus on the students, right? The students mean too much. They are our top priority. And so there really isn't a choice in the matter. And so days are hard. Days can be very difficult. Mondays and Fridays are very difficult. Those are our biggest staffing challenging days because people need a mental break. When you don't have enough staff, people need time to take away. And so the way we deal with that is encouraging ourselves as well as encouraging those around us and making sure that people are connected to what they're doing, right? It doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard, but if you have the purpose and you know why you're doing what you're doing, it makes it very easy, right? Because what's the option? What is the alternative to that? Students don't get what they need. And so one of the things that we do is we do take breaks. In Duncanville, work is fun. We tell our staff members every week when they come to orientation, we say, you know what, we have a good time in Duncanville ISD. We do, but we do it in such a way that it's going to be professional. We're going to be accountable. We're going to communicate about it, the PAC. And we hold people accountable to that. And sometimes from the HR perspective, that doesn't always feel good to people either. But that's what we do. That's what we have to do. We have to keep the kids as our top priority. And so on those days when we don't have enough people, some people on our team, we even go out. We say, I was talking to our high school principal the other day. We speak almost every day. And I said, hey, I gave him your call. He said, I'm so sorry I didn't call you back. I was in a classroom, right? And I said, okay, do you need me to send a couple of people over from my team to fill in? That's what we do. We help each other. And so we know that they know we're only a phone call away. We'll hop in our cars. We're over there to help because it's all hands on deck to meet the needs of our students.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome. The crisis is real. And we all as leaders have to work through some of those challenging times. You do an awesome job of that and keeping focused. It speaks to the whole thought process of everything rises or falls with the leader. Because one alternative is to think and feel that we can't overcome the challenges that we're facing because they are very real. But we have the kind of leadership that won't allow that mindset to creep into the way we do business. And in Duncanville, we are very, very fortunate to have you as a leader, to have the value that you bring to the district each and every day, and the creative, innovative ways that you constantly push and challenge me to think outside the box of how we can manage the crisis. The crisis is real. We've kind of talked about just the general contributions that we are trying to make to counter some of these challenges. We've talked about the innovative things that we've done to really embrace our teachers and create that connectedness. And really just several things that I think help us stand apart and alone in how we do our business. We're really super intentional about all of those things. And so I'm confident as we work through the next several weeks and months as we end the school year and even during the summer as we operate in really what's the new normal. So in Duncanville, we are the city of champions. We have great leadership. Everything rises and or falls with the leader. We're rising even in the midst of a staffing crisis because of the leadership that we have. And so I am so proud to be a partner with you, be on the same team with you as we work together for the betterment of Duncanville ISD. I'm Dr. Mark Smith. This is my podcast. Again, everything rises and or falls based on the leader.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Super Intentional with Dr. Mark Smith. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio platforms, be sure to subscribe and rate the episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms.